15 important things to consider before trying to get your ex back. Whether you did the dumping or you were the dumpee, saying goodbye to the person you're pretty sure was your soulmate hurts like hell. And while we'd like to think it'll never happen to us, the one that got away is a major plotline in romantic comedies, country songs, and sugar-free gum commercials, so don't worry, you're not the only person trying to figure out how to get your ex back. It's a popular trope for a reason, folks. But before you drunk text your ex or send them all the 12 days of Christmas gifts like in that episode of The Office, you need to do a little internal work to figure out why things didn't work out in the first place, explains sex educator Liz Powell, PsyD, author of Building Open Relationships. Sometimes the timing was off, but sometimes a partner doesn't work for us because we're not a fit in general. It's much easier to focus on the best parts of a relationship when you're not actually interacting with that person every day, adds Powell, so you have to strip back those feel-good memories to really remember the root of your breakup before proceeding. Also important to remember, there are millions and millions of amazing people out there, so you don't have to assume you've already met your other half, says Powell. With tons of dating apps and first date advice, don't feel like you have to settle for a shitty ex just because you're currently single. But if you just can't shake the feeling that your ex might just be the Jim to your Pam, we asked a bunch of relationship experts what you need to consider if you're thinking about catching up with the person whose name is in your phone as do not text. Read carefully, at least twice, before hitting up your former flame. 1. Take a good look at yourself. First things first, take a sec to really look inwards. We're talking wants, needs, desires, and literal life stage. There's a big difference between getting back together with someone because you're lonely and because you truly love them, explains Patel. In fact, oftentimes, we get so lost in our own ideas of what we think would be beneficial for us that we don't actually consider whether or not it makes sense, adds Powell. Did you recently start a new job? In the middle of a giant work project? Experiencing a different loss in another area of your life? Our emotions are tricky, and sometimes stress in other areas can cloud our judgment. Not only that, but it can lead you to commit to things, like trying again with an ex, that you don't actually have the mental or emotional capacity to take on. Think about whether or not you're ready to be a good, healthy partner before even considering reconnecting. If you can't show up 100% right now, there's no point in trying to reform a bond. Trust us, it'll save everyone a lot of heartbreak in the long run. 2. Evaluate your current relationship sitch. Wanting to get back together with your ex when you're single is one thing, but feeling that way when you're dating someone new is a whole other. The good news is, it's pretty normal to have some lingering feelings for your ex, even after you've moved on, Powell explains. And those occasional yearnings or fond recollections aren't necessarily reason enough to DM your ex, they say, but you do need to evaluate what capacity you're thinking about your ex in. I would ask whether you're actively building those feelings rather than just letting them be what they are, Powell advises. Are you spending time fantasizing about what could have been? Are you comparing your current partner to your ex? Are you using the feelings as an excuse to push away from your current partner? Usually, these are things we do either because we're not addressing an issue in our current relationship or because we're afraid of getting too close to someone and need a way to get some distance. Either way, take a look at your current relationship situation to see if there's anything you're lacking before running to your ex. You might be surprised to discover it's not actually your ex that you're missing, but the fact that they'd bring you coffee in bed or always go down on you during sexy times, two things a new partner is absolutely capable of doing with a little communication. Oh, and don't reconnect with your ex while you're still dating someone else, PLS. Let's respect everyone in this process. 3. Reflect on your relationship. Before you decide you're going to stand outside your ex's window with a boombox, Patel says it's a good idea to spend some time reflecting on your relationship first. Unfortunately, people don't often take time to focus on the things they did or didn't like about the relationship, she explains. I would reflect on why things would work this time, as well as what's different that would potentially make this reconciliation work differently. Because sorry, but in a lot of cases, someone's your ex for a reason, says Powell. Unless something significant has changed, there's no reason to think things would be better now. However, if things have significantly changed, you've gotten a lot older, you've worked through your baggage, etc., then there's some chance it could work, they explain. Either way, I think it's worth taking some time to really look at why things ended and whether anything has actually changed to make things different now. 4. Be realistic. After taking a long look at why your relationship ended and whether or not things are any different now, Powell says to get real about what your current feelings mean. It's natural to still have some lingering love for your ex, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea to rebuild something. Our desire to reach out to an ex is often about a wish for an idealized, sentimental version of the relationship more than because the relationship could actually work better in the present, says Powell. I think we can also get lost in our own ideas of what would be good or beneficial and lose track of whether our ex would even want to hear from us. Powell suggests asking yourself why the relationship ended, why things would be better now, and how hearing from you might affect your ex. Reaching out for no clear reason might cause more pain or reopen wounds that have already started to heal. 5. Consider getting professional help. Everyone can benefit from therapy. If you're experiencing a breakup or wondering whether or not you should try to rekindle something with an old flame, psychologist Mariana Bakarova, PhD, who teaches relationship psychology at the University of Toronto, says this is the perfect time to call in the pros. Oftentimes when we think back to relationships, we do so with rose-colored glasses on and aren't actually viewing the past from an objective angle. A therapist can help you focus on all aspects of the relationship and not just the ooey-gooey picture-perfect ones to help you decide whether or not it's worth reaching out again. And for what it's worth, if your ex is in a relationship, I'll save you some time and money and let you know the answer is a resounding no. You should not try to get them back. 6. Give your ex-partner actual space. This one will probably be harder if you were the one broken up with, but trust, it's important. If you can't respect your ex-partner's basic wishes of needing some space, you're not off to a good start in making them want to date you again. Of course, if you're trying to get back together, you will want to reach out eventually, but there's no concrete amount of time to wait, says Bakarova. A good rule of thumb: break the silence when you feel more clarity about the relationship. This means if you were broken up with and have been blaming yourself for the split, only reinstate contact when you stop feeling that way. If you did the breaking up, shoot a text only when you're certain that you miss your ex for the right reasons, rather than out of boredom or guilt. 7. Don't think of it as a competition. I would avoid the mindset of winning over anyone, says Bakarova. In a world that looks at dating culture as a challenge anyway, it's quite unhealthy to try to re-win your ex over by thinking of it in the same way you'd think about a football game where there's one clear winner and one loser. Seeing a reconciliation as anything other than a combination of mutual growth and effort is a pretty unhealthy approach, confirms Bakarova, and it probably signifies that you shouldn't be getting back together in the first place. 8. Hold back on the bad-mouthing. Obviously, breakups feel shitty. It's only natural and needed to have a vent session with your closest BFFs. You can, however, be hurt without acting vindictive, especially if your ex is someone you already think you might want to get back together with. Put yourself in your ex's shoes, Bakarova says. Would you appreciate it if someone you cared about spoke badly about you to all of your friends, sent you an avalanche of angry messages, or revealed secrets you had told them in a vulnerable state? If you ever want to open the door to dating each other again, spreading weird rumors or sending mean-spirited texts won't do you any favors. Also, it's just good practice for all breakups, regardless of your future dating intentions. It's never good to divulge super personal gossip about an ex, plus, it won't actually make you feel better. 9. Change your life before seeing if your ex fits into it. In your time apart, you might feel a little lonelier than you used to, especially when you're making weekend plans or finding activities to fill up a rainy Tuesday night. But learning to like yourself just as much when you're alone is arguably the most crucial part of this process. Bakarova suggests investing in new friendships and hobbies and filling up your life with as much joy as possible, even if you're still down about the breakup. Once you've faced your fear of being partnerless, then and only then can you know if you genuinely want your relationship back. If you only miss your ex when you feel lonely or when you compare your life to those of friends in relationships but not in moments when you feel happy and confident, it won't make for a very fulfilling relationship down the line, Bakarova says. 10. Assess if your issues are actually fixable. Okay, so you're sure you miss your ex a lot and do want them back. But there's more to it than that. Were your reasons for breaking up actually mendable? 11. Don't overthink how you approach them. Once you've decided that trying to get back together feels right and you're pretty sure they're not dating anyone else, it's time to open up the convo. It'll probably feel a little awkward, but the main thing to remember is to do what feels right for the relationship. For long-term partnerships, Bakarova suggests being more upfront and honest about missing the person and hoping to meet with them. For shorter-term relationships or fizzled-out dates, she recommends keeping it simple and just asking them if they're free to hang out. 12. Keep the actual meetup spot casual. Although your old go-to bar with the dimly lit candles and velvet booths feels hella familiar and romantic, it's probably not the best bet for this situation. Instead, Bakarova suggests something like an afternoon coffee so there aren't high expectations on the meetup and your partner doesn't feel pressured into staying too long if they feel uncomfortable. Plus, an open-ended, sober daytime hang lets you be clear-headed and honest about how you feel without any pressure. 13. Address the elephants in the room first. You may very well be tempted to flatter your ex a bunch to warm them up, but unless they're totally oblivious, they already know what's up. Buttering them up comes off as disingenuous, even if it's not your intention. If there are any issues that need clarification or anything you'd like to apologize to your partner for, do that early on, says Bakarova. Sort out your issues so that your partner can tell you've given this some thought and it isn't a spur-of-the-moment decision to re-enter into a relationship. 14. End the convo on great memories. Okay, so you've sufficiently covered everything you've reflected on in your time apart. You've built a case for getting back together, and your ex has given their verdict. Maybe they're enthusiastically into it, or maybe they're very firmly against it. Either way, you should reflect on the best parts of your relationship. You always want to end this conversation on a positive note, a memory you'll always cherish, or maybe why you are glad your partner entered into your life, says Bakarova. If you love your ex enough to want to be with them again, you should try to look at your past with zero regrets, regardless of the final outcome. 15. If you do get back together, really do the work. This goes back to the no winning them over thing. If you decide to give it another go, know that it's not an overnight process. Although it will take some work to rebuild trust, this is your opportunity to form an even deeper bond, Bakarova says. But that can only be if you speak up to your partner about what you like and dislike, when you feel hurt and when you feel happy, and how you'd like to be treated. The point is, as fated and passionate as getting back together can feel, there were still reasons you broke up in the first place, and now's the time to tackle them. But hey, when you're with the person you want to be with, you already know you're down to try again. Thank you for watching, and hit that subscribe button.